Hey guys, I'm Gonzalo Romo. My partners were Alexander Simon and Kelsey Jensen. And what we did was create a program that revolved around the English Premier League. A little background on this is the English Premier League is the top professional soccer division in England. Little summary of our program. What our program does is analyze stats from a season of the English Premier League. There are four main function calls, and those function calls are results, basically win, losses, draws, scoring, pretty self-explanatory, goals per game, average goals per game, and plus minus for the season. Plus minus is if you have a plus, you scored more goals than you gave up, and if you have a minus, you let more goals in than you scored. And also our functions display graphs that show different statistics. We will talk about those later.
Okay, so here are data sets. You can see the original and then the edited one, which is the one that which is the text file we saved that our function calls or loads. And we tried to keep the changes to a minimum so that it'd be easy to use if you want to pull some other stats and look at it the same way. The only changes we made were we got rid of this heading here, the home away total, and then we added a rank and a name heading for these two columns here, and we added commas between everything. Because our delimiter is going to be a comma when we load it as a data set. Other than that, it's pretty much exactly the same as the original.
Why we chose to analyze the English Premier League? First main reason, we're soccer fans, and another main reason is we found that it will have a global interest. The English Premier League is one of the most famous, most dominant soccer leagues in the world. A lot of best players in the world play there, and we said why not.
Alright, so before I start running the code, I'm going to talk a little bit about how we loaded the data. So like I mentioned before, it's loaded as a data set. And if we look at the text file itself, you see there's a column of strings and then everything else is numbers. So what I'm going to do is turn those into the first column here, I'm isolating it, and then I'm turning it into a column vector, and then I'm isolating columns 3 through 17, and then I'm going to use this double function to turn it into matrix, so we can use it like we normally would with MATLAB, which works well with numbers but not as well with strings. And then here I'm assigning each column to what it is, just in case. Again, I'm trying to write this for the, or we're trying to write this for the general case. So here, let's say your games played column, instead of being the first column, it's the 12th column or something like that. The only change you would need to make to still use that text file would be reassigning the column. So now I'll run the function so you can actually see what we're talking about. So the first thing that pops up is this menu bar here, which offers the 4 options. So I'll go ahead and click on the first one, plot results. You can see it outputs a string, or it outputs some text to the command window, overall rank, team name, total wins, draws, losses, and it also displays a figure, team results from games played, rank, number of results, and then there's also a secondary menu that comes up if you want to see home results and away results.
To optimize this graph, we decided to put 3 different data sets on one graph, and to do that we changed the width of each graph. So as you can see, we assign a variable w and then add some kind of number, 0.75, 0.45, to that number just to change the width of the graph so it's easier to see which data set we're talking about. We also changed the color. You can see one is green, one is yellow, one is red. And so within the legend you can see which data set we're talking about. The other way that we graph all 3 data sets on one graph is by putting the hold on, which you can see underneath the bar, and then hold off, which means that all of that data is going to be on one graph.
Yeah, so I'm not going to bore you with calling every function. Each one has a home and away results, but we'll check another one. So this is the away goals, and Yeah, I'll let Kelsey talk a little bit about the figure.
The only thing we really changed on the figure was where the legend was located to optimize the graph because there was a lot of white space on the top. We had decided to find the max of both of the data sets, and then we graphed it just to +1 of that max. So there's not that much white space at the top. When we had done that, the legend was on top of our data, which was no good. So we figured out the way to change the legend so that it was in the middle of the screen and horizontal so that it wasn't covering up in our data. So you just put location north, which is where the location of the legend would be, and then orientation horizontal, which would change the legend from being vertical to horizontal.
Yeah, so one more function I'll talk about is the plot overall plus minus function, and that's just because we made another addition to the figure. And as you'll notice, the edge color is a bit different.
We added the edge color just so you could distinguish between the bars themselves. To add edge color, you just do quotations, edge color, comma, and then the color you want the edge color to be.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it. We hope you guys enjoyed this English Premier League stat analysis.